The guy on the left is Joshua J. He's my guest today, an incredible magician. I'm going to tell you, I've been around magicians for a long time. I've seen some great stuff. What you're going to see in this clip that I'm going to play for you in a minute is going to blow you away. But before I do that, let me have him join us right now. I believe he's from New York City today, but we'll find out when he joins us. Joshua J., how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am well, Josh. Thanks so much for being here today.
Oh, are you kidding? Thanks for having me. It's great to be here and to talk shop with a fellow performer. It's my pleasure.
Well, that's a stretch in it there, but no, I'm kidding. I've been at this a long time, but you, man, I got to tell you, you're on fire. I mean, I've looked at some of your stuff, and I want to go back and talk about Six Impossible Things a little bit later on, and a few other things, but that piece of video that introduced you to me, I got to tell you, I have played it for people. It blows people away. We are common friends with a guy named Jeff Silna, and Jeff's a fabulous guy. Off camera, I'll tell you the story of Jeff and how I met him. But I wonder if you would indulge me. I am going to show the clip from James Corden now for the audience. We may get caught by the YouTube police or the Facebook police and or the Late Late Show police and tell us to take the clip down. In case we do, we're going to do another introduction after the clip, like we hadn't even had this discussion, and real quick. And but I think it's worth just doing that. So sit back, relax. We're going to head backstage here, and I'm going to play for you this fabulous clip of Josh on Jay. Is it right to call you Josh? Joshua? First time we've met, and here I am calling you Josh right out of the gate. So, all right, let me bring up this clip. It is just absolutely fabulous. It is going to blow you away, folks. Enjoy it, and we'll be back on the other side. Man, I got to tell you, I'm sitting here with a giant smile on my face again. That trick just blew us away. When I say us, my wife, Nancy, and I put it on the big screen and then we started going deep on your videos. But man, what a great energy you have. And for those of you that are just joining us, maybe you missed this clip because I had to re-edit this piece and put it up there. But we showed a clip from James Corden's Late Late Show with Joshua J. and an amazing trick. So I'm going to start with this, first of all. I mean, It's a great bit of comedy. Tell me the inspiration behind that bit.
So the whole piece, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Thank you for saying so. We're learning all the time. And when this show came about, I did this show in New York, and it was meant to be a very small experimental thing for me, just because it's something I always wanted to do and sort of say, I'll throw caution to the wind. I'll throw common good business sense to the wind, and we'll do a show for 20 people in New York, which is like impossible to make profitable. But it took off. It really took off, and it sold out like 3 runs in a row, and I didn't expect that. And then all of a sudden, something else happened I didn't expect, which was I got invited to do The Tonight Show and James Corden and Good Morning America and all these things. And, that's not my world. My world is devising pieces for live performance. So some of the TV appearances I've done have been tricks that I either, went along with what the producers were asking or put a trick in that I thought would be great for the cameras. But there's an example where I think one of the reasons that piece hit so hard is that was an original piece from the show that we were able to say, okay, they need us to shave 2 minutes off. They want him involved. Usually I don't have a spectator on stage with me in that one.
Right.
But we reblocked it, and we had this laboratory to develop the piece. And that made all the difference, because I ran that piece probably 30 times to get it. Some of the jokes that are really funny in my show that reference things that are earlier don't work in an isolated environment. And to condense it down and get it to where it was just the result of being able to do it in my show for people for the weeks leading up to that appearance.
Yeah. I completely get it. And just so you know, an update, we immediately got knocked off of YouTube. So
okay.
Yeah, but we're live still on Facebook. But that's a risk we ran of running that piece. So, but going back to, and this will be recorded, we'll put it on YouTube later with that edited out. But you mentioned the 6 impossible things, and you mentioned the fact that too, you had an opportunity there to kind of studio some things. But did you say 20 people are in the audience for that? 20 people?
So it's in the vein of an immersive show. So it's in a New York basement, and 20 people come with me on this journey through several environments. And the whole objective was to create magic around an environment. So if you can imagine this, you come in, I'm not there. You come into this environment in Chinatown in Lower Manhattan, and you sit in a circle, in chairs in a circle, and the show starts with the lights going totally black. And I appear in the middle of the room and do a whole magic segment in the dark.
Wow, that's incredible.
Then we go to one where you're standing and they're all around me in different parts of the room. Then we do one where everybody's on the floor. Then we do one where it's one-on-one. So we create really avant-garde scenarios that I can really let material shine. I mean, imagine being in a magic, you think you're going to a magic show with your wife on a date, but you don't think you're going to be alone in a room with a magician seeing something in your hands like this. But we can do that with 20 people, and that's what made it sort of special.
So let me give folks a better sense of it. I have queued up 6 Impossible Things trailer, which should give people a better idea of what it is we're talking about, correct?
Sure.
Yeah, let me show folks what that looks like.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 6 Impossible Things, you don't watch the show, you are the show. When you arrive, the first thing you notice is that you are one of just 20 people. And unlike any magic show you've ever seen, this is a sensory magic show. You are a part of everything. Experience the most intimate and mind-expanding magic show in New York.
It's like nothing I've ever seen. It's ridiculous.
We've never seen anything like it, and it completely blew our minds.
This was not only better than like pretty much every magic show I've seen, but it's also just so different. I mean, you'll remember it forever because there's never going to be anything like it.
Every seat is a front row seat. Reserve your tickets today to 6 Impossible Things.
That's incredible. And what I love about what you do too is your commitment to quality, of that. First of all, the production quality of that video itself, but you've got this great sense of production quality, and that shows it. So
well, it's and I'm sure you relate to this as a performer. We don't, when you're not David Copperfield, you have to make choices, and many of the choices we make are to take gigs because they're lucrative, or to go on a tour because it's time to go on tour and you need the income. So you make enough decisions that aren't artistic in nature, and you get an urge, or at least I do. You get the urge to do something that's selfish, probably isn't the word, but you do something that feels like it's magic first and not commercial. And I came to a point in my career where it was like, I'm doing enough of the things for my career that I want to do something for me. I want to write a magic show, even if it doesn't make any sense to put all the, we had a staff of 4 for 20 people. That just doesn't make sense. Now the tickets were expensive, but it still didn't really equal out in the end. I mean, we were lucky that as it gained momentum, we were able to make the show viable and successful by just working to death, because we were doing, 8, 9, 10 shows a week.
Yeah. But I mean, this had to have been a buzz thing, right?
Yeah,
you did this in Manhattan. Is that correct?
Yeah. In Lower Manhattan. Yeah.
So it had to have been a buzz thing, right? I mean, 20 people plus 20 people plus 20 people. And then all of a sudden, I'm sure you quickly found yourself being one of the quote unquote, the hottest tickets in town, for the small environment show. And when was the last time that ran? Did that get interrupted by COVID or not?
So it didn't get interrupted. It almost did. It's the last one that we ran was in December of 2019. And then I did a tour with some tentative plans to possibly bring it back after the tour, and then after the tour was COVID, so I got called home from my tour.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I was fearful of that. So when COVID is over, is there a possibility though that you're going to do another run of the show, or are you kind of moving on to the next thing?
It's one of those sort of unfortunate but exciting things where a couple of things. Number one, we filmed it in December, thank God. So that was really lucky, because I have aspirations to sort of do something with the footage, whether it goes to a streaming service or something. So more news coming there, I hope, in the future. But in December, some producers came from a much larger theater and sort of looked at the show and went, "We love this. We want to bring you to our theater." And I made an agreement with them that would have started this past October, but the theaters are all obviously closed.
Yeah.
I hope that when this is all over, I mean, I've been actively working on a much bigger show and with kind of a different bent, that I'll be able to go into that theater and do that.
Well, too, in New York especially, I mean, Broadway has changed so much over the years that there's room for you to do a show that will end up on stage on Broadway. And I mean, first of all, going back, I love that you showed the Doug Henning shirt. I mean, to me, I'm a lot older than you, but when that was on Broadway, that was a big deal then. Yeah, it was huge, and Henning, of course, was the guy that brought magic to a different level, a different way, into the living room in a way that a lot of people hadn't seen before. So it was great for you to hold up that shirt. And so I think, the fact that you're based in Manhattan works. You and I mentioned, but before we came live here, that ventriloquists have a strong tie with magicians and vice versa. You mentioned Gary Hunter's name, who was kind of a beloved member of our community, who has worked the cruise ships as both a performer and a cruise ship director.
With Gary many times on the Crystal Cruise line, because they have a special partnership with the Magic Castle. So they have a thing called Magic Castle at Sea that Gary books, and I mean, countless times been on the ship with Gary. And when a different performer wasn't able to make his connection, I've buried Gary out and done a stage thing.
Great.
And we've done fun game show stuff over the years. I was actually on the ship. I was on a Crystal Cruise when it was supposed to be Gary's retirement voyage, and then it was cut short because, we all had to go home because of COVID.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So I was with Gary on probably his last sail. And the other guy that I know, although I haven't been in touch with him for many years, is, and I am now in my parents' home in Canton, Ohio. And there's a great ventriloquist around here whose name is Ken Groves.
Oh my God, sure, yeah.
And so I used to know Ken Groves. We came from the same magic club as a kid.
Yeah, so Ken is on the board of Ventriloquist Museum with me in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. We have the world's only collection of ventriloquist dummies, memorabilia, posters, all kinds of things. We're actually going through a very large capital campaign. Would love to have you come down there if you're visiting mom and dad. We do it in July. Fingers crossed we'll do it this year, but at the very least, 2022 we'll be together. It's an amazing gathering. So yeah, that closeness does align, and so that to celebrate Gary's retirement, I did have him on a live stream. We interviewed him. We got his career laid out pretty good. I'll send you a Google Drive link to that interview, because I think it was really just a wonderful time. So, but you don't only stop at stage. You have this other project that you've done regarding a magic mailbox. What is that all about?
Yeah. So magic mailbox. So to back up, what you're really asking here is that, what I realized early on is that I don't think I would be satisfied artistically just doing shows. I mean, there are a lot of magicians who love video games or have families, and they fill their days with other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, when I'm performing at night, and my degree is in writing, and I'm just fascinated with everything about magic. I mean, my sort of life goal is to wake up in the morning and help deepen people's appreciation for the craft of magic. And so one of those ways is to write books about it. And I've been on a kick the last couple of years of writing children's book. The first one was called Big Magic for Little Hands. It's this big book of magic a kid can discover in his own home or her own home, with boxes and broomsticks and old pairs of shoes. And then Magic Mail is this really cool mailbox. It lives on the child's nightstand. And every night before bed, when they check the mailbox, a letter from me from around the world in my tours has appeared inside the mailbox. There you go. Yeah, let's go. Trailer.
There it is. So that's pretty cool. Now there is a trailer for this. Would it be okay if I show that trailer?
Go for it.
Yeah, yeah. Let me play the trailer for everybody, and I'll take you and I out of the shot. And
when I was a kid, the mail was magic. This project celebrates the world through the letters that we write. I'm Joshua J, and I'm a professional magician. So I invented a mailbox that makes letters appear like magic every day. So each night before bed, when your child opens the mailbox, they'll discover a letter has appeared like magic, teaching them about the most astonishing places around the world. The most amazing part of Magic Mail is that it's something to do before bed with your kid every night. You receive 31 unique letters. So every night, it's a different letter for a month, which makes this a really unique way to tell a story and learn about the world. And on the last day, this appears in the mailbox. Your child gets to draw where they're from and send it back to teach me about their hometown. I can't think of a cooler way to share this amazing world than through Magic Mail.
again, man, another quality presentation. I mean, you're really, and I'm always fascinated by the business of show business. You've just got this this sense of that if you're going to do quality, it's got to just shine throughout.
Yeah, I mean, of course, that comes with both the security of knowing that, if this book doesn't come out by a certain time, I won't have food on the table. And also it comes from the idea that it's not the way that I make my living. So I can afford to be really picky about it. And the publisher I work with was so great, Chronicle Publishing. And so that Magic Mail is available in all sorts of, sorry about that.
That's all right. I thought it was me.
Yeah, it's available in all sorts of bookstores across the country. And yeah, I mean, the other part of the way I make my living is with a company called Vanishing Ink Magic. I co-founded this with my best friend and partner, and this is one of the world's largest magic shops online. So we supply, performers of all sorts.
There's a comment. Picked up your balancing.
I love it. Oh, that's nice. He must be a magician. So this is another thing. I have a trick called balance, which I'm sure there are clips on that you could find. But yeah, it's a trick that comes after a prison pen pal. So this is a big part of my life, is writing to incarcerated people and teaching them magic. And a few years ago, somebody wrote me and said, hey, I love magic and I've studied your books, but I'm only allowed to have these things in my room: a toothbrush, a bottle, a this, a that, some cigarettes. And I thought, wow, that's really sad, but also almost poetic in a way. So I put together this trick where I balance all these objects impossibly in a sculpture. And yeah, so that's how that trick came about.
That's very, very cool. Very, very cool. There are some other comments. Let me throw them up here. Unfortunately, this one person didn't give the Facebook permission here, but great question. So you have a natural knack for comedy. You have the catch and pull where you look like the serious magician, but then you just hit us between the eyes, and that's when this whole thing was just totally cracked me up. But this person wants to know, who's your inspiration for combining comedy and magic? Because it requires, more talent than just practicing a trick.
It's a good question. I have to say, it's very nice of that person to say that. I never think of myself as a comedian or a comedy magician. That's not to say I want my shows to be deadly serious, but for me, the comedy always has to serve the magic. Whereas I think if you're a comedy magician, what your goal is laughs. Your goal is laughs and maybe amazement second or equal to the first. But my goal is strictly amazement. So what's really interesting, and I don't want to get into this too much because a lot of your audience are not performers, but all of the laughs, all of the comedy in that routine that you saw on the James Corden clip serves to conceal something to make the magic work. Mm-hmm. So it's all there because while you're laughing, you're not looking carefully at my hands, or you're not looking carefully at what is happening with the props. And so that's the reason that that's there. And I always feel okay with humor that's derived from the magic situation. But I kind of roll my eyes at acts that I see where it's clear that like the only reason we're doing this card trick is because this person wanted to stick a silly hat on the person's head, and it has its place, but it's just not for me.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
Well, but that's a skill in of itself, and I know you're saying part of our audience is not really interested in that, but people are. Number one, I like the mechanics of it. I like to ask questions about it, but I think too that with comedy and with I've worked with a lot of jugglers over the year. Right, who are the best jugglers? The ones that have the lines in between, the tricks, and the ones that make the drop, the comedic drop look on purpose, and it's not. Those are the ones that just kind of keep it moving. So speaking of tricks, I asked you this last night. I'm not sure if you have something prepared or not, but is it possible to do a trick in a situation like this?
Yeah, we can try. Certainly. I mean, I've been doing some virtual shows for people when the time comes.
Okay. Well, should I give you the whole screen?
Yeah, for the moment, but I'll ask you to come back in a second. Can you? Let's see here.
No, take your time.
There we go. Can you guys see all right?
I think they can see it. Yeah.
Good. All right. So we're going to mix up these cards a little bit. And just like any athlete before a big race, I have to warm up, So let me warm up with kind of an interesting trick. There's different ways of shuffling cards. I would have you shuffle if you were here, but you're not here, so I have to shuffle for you.
Right. I trust you.
Oh, you say you trust me. That's a big mistake.
Yeah.
So let's do it this way. As I go through these cards, I would like you to call stop anywhere you like.
Stop.
Here, okay? As far as I can tell, it's this card, which I'll place right over here.
All right.
I told you this is a warm-up exercise. Here's what I mean by this. I'm not going to try and find this card because I know just where it is. I don't know what it is, but I know where it is.
Right.
So instead, for your viewers, I'm going to try and find the cards that match this one. So for example, that's 11, 13, 12, 6, and 4. That should be the King of Diamonds. So it's not that I think you picked the King of Diamonds. It's that I think that this card is one of the kings.
Okay.
So that's the King of Diamonds. Look, another dead cut. And that should be, oh yeah, King of Spades. There it is. So we've got the diamond and the spade. I'm not sure which one that is. Let's see if I can get one more king. I think that's, the club. So that's the King of Clubs. We've got the diamond and the spade and the club. Diamond, spade, and the club, which means if we're all warmed up, this should be the king.
Uh-oh.
Well, now we really are warmed up, ready to go.
Oh, man. And I was anticipating it being my king, the King of Hearts. Of course, that's what I'm known as.
Always leave you. Yeah.
Nowhere am I known as that. But
on your toes. Let's try one more thing.
All right.
Why don't you come back in for this one?
I'm here.
Good. Again, I so wish that we could have you cut. Maybe in some way we sort of can. I'll just cut whenever you say. But I would like
you to yell cut when I'm ready for you to cut.
You want to cut again? There you go.
All right. Yep. Good. Perfect.
So I would normally have you pick a card, but of course it's hard to pick a card when you're through the screen. So instead, what I'd like you to do is think of a card. Okay.
Okay. All right.
In some ways, this is kind of more entertaining for your people because you are going to be thinking of a card. There's no possible way I could influence you. If you want, you can change your mind. When you've committed to a card, let me know.
No, I'm committed to one. I've got it.
All right. I want you on the count of 3 to name your card, and together we're going to find it. 1, 2, 3.
2 of clubs.
2 of clubs. You want to change your mind, or you want to stay with the 2 of
staying
clubs?
right there. 2 of clubs.
If I had you reach through here and actually pick a card out, that would be an impressive trick. But
Very impressive.
Far more impressive is this. You see that card there? Is that clear?
I see it.
Queen of Diamonds.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Give me a break.
And there's your 2 of clubs, the one you thought of.
That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. And to me, close-up magic is what's mind-blowing. I mean, there's nothing, even in this case, there's nothing between you and I right now that, I'm using a common platform. There's no trickery in my camera, and that just happened, and it's just pretty incredible. Yeah, amazing. So let me ask you, when you are performing, I mentioned close-up. What is your favorite kind of magic as a magician? What do you like to do the most? It is close-up?
Close-up card magic. I mean, I think this is, the Johann Nepomuk Hofzinser, a Viennese magician from 2 centuries ago, called card magic the poetry of magic. And I think that's true. And it's still my favorite part. It's just that I do a lot of things that are bigger than card magic now because I have to.
Right.
But, yeah, it's still my favorite.
And I imagine the practice that goes into close-up magic, too, is just hours and hours of being alone, right? Is that correct?
Misspent youth. Yeah. I mean, it's constant. And, I usually fall asleep late at night to a movie or a show. And even then, after a day of practicing or working on things or concerted inventing, I'm still just working on my skills all the time.
Yeah. Oh, that's obvious. That's absolutely obvious. Yeah. So, when it comes to your inspiration of magic, 'cause I really didn't get into this, what was the moment that you said, I want to do magic? Was it, TV? I mean, what was it? What inspired you?
Oh, I can tell you exactly. So I was 7 years old, and my dad, who was not a professional magician, but liked magic as a hobby, did a card trick for me and didn't tell me how it was done. So I was so amazed by this that I went to my room and I spent 4 hours dealing cards, making charts, tearing things up, throwing it at the wall. And I eventually figured out the trick he showed. Simple trick. And so then I went back into the family room and I said, now I've got a trick for you. And I did the trick back to him. And I've thought about this moment a lot in my career. And there's sort of 3 points, in the cycle. And all 3 had a huge impact on me. So the first point is, like we all experience, watching a magic trick for the first time. I mean, it just, something hit deep down. I can't explain what it is, but it made sense to me. It affected me. And I thought, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then sitting in my room, reverse engineering it, using these creative skills and problem solving skills, that's very different. And that a lot of magicians, that's a skill you need in magic. And I enjoyed that part of it, figuring the trick out. That's the part most people don't experience or feel. And then, of course, the last part, being on the other side of the screen, so to speak, and performing for him and amazing him, it was that cycle of all 3, watching and appreciating magic, trying to figure out how it works, how to do tricks, and then performing back. Those things have all governed my life ever since.
That's an incredible way to be inspired too. And because most people would say, I saw someone on TV, or I, was a kid at a birthday party and saw a magician. Here, your dad did a simple card trick, and that fueled the whole thing. And I have to ask you too. So you're 7 years old. What was the next step and the next step? Library, magic shop locally. How did you get there?
Yeah, with my dad, I joined the local magic club, and I was performing at kids' birthday parties, and then it just went from there. I put a competition act together and won some local, and then regional, and then national, and then I won the World Magic Seminar, and it just kind of took off from there.
It's great to hear you say you started doing birthday parties, because so many of us did birthday parties, blue and gold dinners, all those things.
Knights of Columbus. I did it all.
Yeah, but the lessons you get from that, you cannot buy those kinds of lessons.
100%. Was just talking with some colleagues, and a very well-known magician had a TV appearance and was just like caught in the headlights because they didn't know how to manage an audience. And I thought to myself, that's because this magician had the luxury or bad fortune of kind of being thrust in the limelight without much performing experience.
Yes.
You work for 8-year-olds for 10 years, and you're not going to be worried when people say things that are unexpected or how to get people to sit where you want them to sit. Those skills are sort of, learned the hard way.
Brother, that is music to my ears, And you mentioned Ken Groves before, your neighbor there in Ohio. Ken's another guy that can profess to that. And actually, as a corporate person, I actually hired my buddy Ken to come in and perform for an audience of people that knew I was a ventriloquist, and to see someone like him come in and do what he did, it's confirmation. So what you're doing is incredible. So Josh, I mean, you've just kind of become a really sought after television guest, which is fantastic. You've got this Six Impossibles, show that you've done that obviously was a buzz. You've got something big planned, but you're at the stage where so many of us are, which is why we're on this live stream right now. Quite frankly, I probably wouldn't be able to touch you for 5 minutes if things were regular. What are you doing during COVID, and what are you getting ready for now that the vaccine is here, post-COVID? What do you see happening?
Yeah, my days are in many ways busier now than they were before. Obviously not in as fulfilling an activities, but I wrote a book called How Magicians Think, which is coming out through Workman Publishing. It's been pushed back twice now because of the pandemic, but I think we're going to be okay for fall of next year. So fall of next year, look for a book that's really my love letter to magic. This is the book I was destined to write. It's the thing I'm most proudest of.
So is this a book for magicians or for the general public?
The general public. It'll be in all bookstores. I'll be touring with it. It actually, Gary Hunter had something to do with it in a weird, oblique sort of way. And that is, when I used to work cruises, you dine with the guests sometimes. And every night dining with the guests, I mean, it was nice in some ways. In fact, that's how I met Jeff Silna, our mutual friend. But, it's a little bit of Groundhog's Day, because you sit down and you just know you are going to be asked the same 25 questions.
Yes.
I started magic. Who's the best magician in the world? Was Houdini as good as he said he was? What do you do if you mess up a trick on stage? These are good questions. They're excellent questions.
Right.
But they're questions that really need unpacked to answer if you're going to deepen somebody's appreciation for magic. And so I wrote the book, 52 chapters thematically, answering each one of these questions in a way where I don't feel like I have to get it done in 5 minutes because people's eyes are going to glaze over. I can tell the real stories of, here's who the best magicians in the world are, and here's what Houdini was great at, and here's what he wasn't so great at. And I'm really proud of this book, and I really poured over it over this pandemic. Obviously, I've been working on this new show that I hope can open once the vaccine is over, so I've been working on that almost every day.
Great.
And then focusing on my business, Vanishing Ink Magic. We supply magic and tutorials to truly a couple 100,000 magicians. And
give me that URL again. Just say that. I'm sorry, I don't have that on here, but
it's Vanishing Ink Magic, vanishingIncmagic.com.
Okay.
And it's a website that's a catch-all for anybody who loves magic. There's things on the history of magic and card magic and coin magic and comedy, and it's a big site.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't have that URL up here ready to go for people, but certainly you've said it, and we'll get it out there. Jeff Silna, let me tell you quickly too, because Jeff is a unique character that just not only character in the bad sense, a great sense. He's one of those guys you meet and instantly. But when I grew up in New Jersey, there was a store that a person closed down completely one day and left it exactly the way it was for 20, 30 years. And not name dropping, but name dropping. Jeff Dunham and I, when Jeff used to stay with us, we'd go to the windows, we'd look inside, we'd go, God, we got to get in there. There's all this kind of stuff from our childhood that's frozen in time. And then time goes on, you move away. I'm in Sisters, Oregon at an antique shop, and I ask a guy a question, and he says, ask that guy over there. It's Jeff Silna, and he bought the entire contents of that store.
Yeah.
And that's just the kind of guy he is. And that's
he's a marvelous collector. And I also enjoyed sitting in the pool on the cruise ship with him, chatting about things, because I collect magic. I'm a very serious collector of antique magic. And one of the calls I'll do today after our interview is about a documentary for Houdini and some of my Houdini artifacts and so on. So, he and I, it's fun to talk with a collector who collects totally different things from you, because
absolutely
you find commonalities, and you find, wow, it's really interesting that somebody can be as passionate about 1950s toys as I am about 1880s magic.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, on my long shot here, I'll give myself a long shot for a second. Over my shoulder here, you see Charlie McCarthy and Mortimer Snerd behind Santa, but
right.
That's part of my collection. In that, I collect all that stuff and have it. Yeah. And there's a shelf over here. And so Jeff does have that in his collection. And you're right. I mean, when you have a passion for what you have a passion in a magic, collecting and honoring the past is just a huge part of that. So I'm not surprised at all. Well, listen, Josh, I have taken up enough of your time. You have been more than kind. I am so sorry about the YouTube police catching up to us, I will, as long as they let me back on, I will re-edit this piece and get it up there so everybody can see the full interview, because we had a nice group of people here watching there. You're also appearing today on a couple of the ventriloquist Facebook groups, which are pretty sizable from around the world. And some of those folks that commented are there. I don't know. I'm going to throw this hello up here for a second. And maybe you know him through the magic circles, or maybe you don't. But I love this guy, Dash Bushy. He's from New York City. But Dash's son, so Dash is a magician. Dash's son is Nicholas, is an amazing new up-and-coming ventriloquist. And that, to me, I'm sure you share the same thing. When you find a young person that's passionate about magic, it is so exciting to see the next generation of people jumping on board.
And it's our duty. It is our duty to support those people. I mean, I came up in the industry, and I remember the big names in magic who were kind to me. And I also remember the big names in magic who blew me off. And, we have a duty to the next generation to treat them with respect and encouragement. And I try in everything I do to do that.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I mentioned this ventriloquist convention that we do every year. We are dedicated to that. Let me put the URL up here again for the Magic Mail book as well. I have the URL correct on that. Is that right? Yeah. So people can write. It's not too late for Christmas, maybe, to get that shipped.
It's getting up against it, but yeah, I mean, and it's on Amazon as well, so you can order it there if you're more comfortable.
Okay, it is on Amazon. Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Anything I can do to help you push some stuff out here, that's awesome. Josh, I can't thank you enough for the time you spent with me today. And hopefully we can do it again sometime, especially when you get ready to launch that live show. I'd love to have you back. So for now, I'm going to ask you to head backstage. I'm going to say goodbye to the audience, and then I want to say a proper goodbye before you leave. Take care. Have a good day. Thanks. Well, man, I got to tell you, what a super nice guy. What a guy that's filled with just incredible talent. Thanks again for being here with Joshua J. And I will see you again real soon. Take care.